You know, for decades, the golden rule of software development has been don't repeat yourself. The whole idea was you write code once and then you reuse it everywhere. Libraries, frameworks, microservices, it was all built on this one powerful idea. But what if that idea, that very foundation, is now obsolete? Let's get into it.
So let's just dive right in with a question that might sound like total heresy to any seasoned developer. Is don't repeat yourself actually bad advice now? It's a pretty provocative thought, I know, but the basic economics of how we build software are being completely turned on their head by AI, and we really need to understand why.
And what this all boils down to is a really simple, but honestly, a profound pivot. We're moving away from the old principle of reusing code, and we're starting to embrace a new one, reusing intelligence. And this isn't just a small update, it's a fundamental re-architecture of how we create value.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to look at the money behind it all. Let's break down why the whole economic model for code is flipped and why the age of simple code reuse might just be over.
So think about it the old way. In the traditional era, writing code was expensive. So if you had a bug in some central library, you'd fix it one time and every single app that used it would benefit. That made the high cost of maintaining that shared library totally worth it. But now, in the AI era, an agent can spit out thousands of lines of highly specialized code in, seconds? All of a sudden, maintaining that one complex shared library across a bunch of apps becomes the more expensive option. It is literally cheaper now to just regenerate fresh, custom code every single time you need it.
A fantastic way to think about this is to compare mass production with 3D printing. Your reusable code? That's like the expensive standardized mold a factory uses for mass production. AI, on the other hand, is like a 3D printer. It can create a unique, custom object on demand for almost nothing. And when customization becomes essentially free, the whole economic argument for standardization, it just kind of evaporates.
Okay, so if we're saying goodbye to reusable libraries, what's taking their place? What's the new blueprint? Well, the answer is something we can call the intelligence stack. And at the very heart of it is a brand new building block, the reusable AI subagent.
This whole new model is built on 5 key parts. 5 reusable components. It starts with a system prompt. Then we add on what we call horizontal and vertical skills. And finally, we plug it all into horizontal and vertical connections. So let's break each of those down.
All right, first up, and this is really the foundation of everything, is the system prompt. This is the pure intelligence layer. It's where you define the agent's persona, who it is, and its scope, what it knows, and, just as important, what its limits are. This is where you actually codify expertise into the system.
So, for instance, you could tell a finance subagent, you are a senior portfolio manager with 20 years of experience, and then set its boundaries by saying, and you only recommend trades that are within the fund's risk limits. A developer writes that once and boom, instantly, 100 different applications can tap into that simulated 20 years of expert experience.
Okay, number 2, horizontal skills. Just think of these as all the standard generic infrastructure tools. This is the agent's ability to use Docker, Kubernetes, talk to cloud APIs, handle its own authentication, and so on. These skills are like the plumbing. They're absolutely essential, but they're the same no matter what domain you're in.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about vertical skills. This is the deep domain expertise. A finance agent needs to know its way around the Bloomberg API and portfolio models. A healthcare agent, on the other hand, needs to understand things like ICD-10 codes and FHIR standards. These skills are super reusable, but only within their specific industry. You can't just drop a finance skill into a healthcare app.
All right, our fourth piece of the puzzle is what we call MCP horizontal connections. Now, MCP just stands for Model Context Protocol, which is a fancy way of saying it's a standard language that lets AI agents talk to other tools. The horizontal connections here are for the generic stuff, allowing the agent to interact with things like GitHub, Docker registries, and CI/CD pipelines. And that brings us to the fifth and final piece, MCP vertical connections. These are the APIs that are specific to an industry. So for finance, that means connecting to the SEC's Edgar database or real-time trading feeds. For healthcare, it's about integrating with an electronic health record system like Epic or pulling from PubMed. And this right here, well, this is the key to everything.
Because this right here, is the moat. These deep vertical integrations are incredibly difficult, they're expensive, and they are super time-consuming for any competitor to even try to replicate.
Building these connections deep into the core systems of an entire industry, that's what creates a powerful, lasting, defensible advantage.
All right, so let's zoom out a bit. Let's put all these pieces together and do a direct comparison of the old world with the new, because this is how you see how the very definition of value in software has completely changed.
You know, when you put the old and new models side by side, the difference is it's night and day. In the traditional world, the thing you reused was a long-lived, centrally maintained library, and its value was all in the code's logic. In this new model, the thing you reuse is the intelligence, the prompt, the skills, the connections. The code itself becomes disposable. The source of value has completely shifted from code logic to domain expertise and those critical integrations.
I get it. This can all sound a little abstract, right? So let's bring it back down to earth with a super concrete, real-world example to see how this intelligence works in action. Let's talk about accounting.
So traditionally, you'd have to build this one single massive accounting library to try and support 5 different software products. It would become incredibly complex, a total nightmare to maintain, especially when tax laws change. But with the AI approach, totally different. You build an accounting sub-agent, you give it an expert accountant persona, and you give it deep integrations into QuickBooks and Xero. Then, when a new customer comes along, you just generate fresh, tailored code just for their needs, but you're reusing that core centralized intelligence every single time. And this really becomes the mantra for this whole new way of thinking. The code is disposable, the intelligence is permanent. Your entire focus as a builder shifts away from maintaining code and toward curating and deepening expertise.
Look, if there is one single thing you walk away with today, I want it to be this. In the AI era, true long-term defensibility doesn't come from how good your code is. It comes from the depth of your domain expertise, combined with the strength of your industry integrations. That's the game now.
So that leaves us with one last question, and this one's for you. Think about your own industry, your own area of expertise. What are the key systems, the essential data feeds, the APIs that basically run your world? Because the answer to what integrations would create an unbeatable moat, well, that's your blueprint for building the future.